Cali Boxing here with D Style Boxing, and here we're here with a special edition of Hcpx on Wednesday. It is Hump Day, and guess what, D Style?
Yes, it
We're on
is.
the eve of fights, like real fights, a good card.
Meh.
We have
We
Thursday
are
card this week, a Thursday card. I like that. I think you talk about that as
Thursday
well.
night boxing. Yeah.
We like Thursday
Well,
night boxing. We like weeknight fights. I like it. And these are good fights, in my opinion, and good names. Shakur, a guy who is on top 10 list. They're both on my top 10 pound for pound list, Shakur and Navarrete. Navarrete right on the outside for a lot of people. They're possible foes in the future, right? Shakur and Navarrete could see each other in the future. They have common opponents here as well. So I like this card. I like this as a Thursday night card. And once again, we've got some top prospects on the undercard too. Abdullah Mason's on this card, was a hot top prospect. Vargas is on this card, the young Vargas. I like that kid a lot. So we got some possible stars in the making
is
on
it
this card as
Emiliano?
well.
Is that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good. He's serious. So Steve Claggett was fighting last night. That guy's exciting. Won't touch on that too much. I have my thoughts on that. I'll share them tomorrow. But this is more prediction, preview, betting odds show. And let's start off with Navarrete, or as I call him, Navarrete. Navarrete against Conceicao. And this could be a sneaky fight. Do you agree with me on that? This could be a sneaky fight.
It could be in terms of it being more competitive than people think, but I'm still rolling about it there.
And what's your why? How do you see
Well,
it
well,
playing
one,
out?
I do believe this, and I remember when Conceicao, when they announced he was going to fight Valdez, and people were kind of being very dismissive towards Conceicao. And I said, "Yo, this guy's like, he's not a novice here, guys. Like, he's a gold medalist. He's got amateur pedigree, and the question is, how is his amateur background going to translate to the pros? Sometimes it's I've always said a gold medalist in boxing is like a Heisman Trophy winner in college. Like some
Mm-hmm.
of them pan out, some don't. Right? But you got to wait and see. Um, but we saw what we saw against Valdez, and I thought that fight could have gone either way. There's some rounds I did not give Conceicao because he was a little too negative for my liking. But I still think he outboxed Valdez, frustrated him, and he almost laid out a blueprint on how you fight Valdez. And he waited for him to load on his punches, countered him, used the whole ring, maybe a little too much at times. But that's who he is right now. Shakur is different, and I think Shakur does what Conceicao does, but better than Conceicao,
Yeah.
right? And that's where Conceicao had problems. He's not used to fighting like like an image of himself. And we learned in that fight, Conceicao can mix it up. He can't. Okay, if a guy's outboxing me, I'm going to try to make it ugly. I'm going to try to get on the inside. He didn't have a backup plan. But we do know this: Navarrete is different to Shakur. He has a different style. He's going to have to beat him in a different way. He's not going to be able to do what Shakur did. So the question is, how is Navarrete going to deal with someone who doesn't cooperate? He's not there to put on a good show. He's not there to please the fans. If this guy has to stink up the joint, he'll do it.
He
And,
will.
and while that's not pleasing to watch, I get that completely. I don't like to see guys running around the ring. At the end of the day, scorecard wise, when we're talking about betting, right? Can he pull that win off? Can he win some rounds? Don't forget about the Ruben Villa fight. I don't know if you recall that fight, Alex. A lot of people have forgotten about that fight. Navarrete knocked him down early. He knocked him down later in the fight. Those knockdowns were the difference for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I felt they split half and half rounds wise, but the knockdowns made the difference. But a lot of quiet rounds were won by Villa. Villa was able to box circles around Navarrete, especially when he got the rhythm down a little bit, and he was done getting. He was a little flustered at the beginning. If Conceicao can get in a rhythm, if Conceicao can frustrate Navarrete, not engage with him, and make this, and I hate to say this, but a boring ass fight, right? He has a shot to win. Like he could actually pull it off. I don't even know if I would agree with the scorecard at the end of it because you know how I feel about guys that are too negative. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think we should reward rounds to them, especially if it's close, right? If you're negative, you better like dominate. You better not get hit at all or something, right? But I still think though that the awkwardness of of Navarrete, the leading with uppercuts, the unorthodox approach, the I think he makes it up as he goes in there. He's like a jazz guitarist. He doesn't he's not like a rhythm guy. He just kind of makes it up as he goes. So I just think he's going to make it difficult for Conceicao. There's really nothing Conceicao could do to prepare for Navarrete. And another thing that Navarrete proved to me, especially in the Hoet fight, in even the Valdez fight, all that unorthodox stuff, he knows how to drop it and just do basic jab, 1-2s, just do some like fundamental stuff in there as well. He likes to mix that up. So like he'll throw a guy off by doing the fundamental stuff because they're getting used to the unorthodox side. So I think that's going to give Conceicao a lot of problems, in my opinion. But I predict, Alex, that this will be a tougher than expected outing for Navarrete. I think he wins like 8 rounds to 4 or something, but those first 4 rounds or so are going to be tough up until Navarrete starts to hurt him, maybe drops him, and
Mm-hmm.
then Navarrete takes over the fight in the second half. And once again, I think he's going to be covering up, and we know what Navarrete does to guys who cover up. He's like a buzzsaw. He messes their face up, like he swells them up almost every time. And I think we're going to see a guy swelling up by the end of the fight in Conceicao.
So there are a couple wild cards here. Number one, you're right about Conceicao being negative. He could be a negative fighter. He can be very negative. So you expect at some point in this fight, Navarrete beats that out of him, right? Beats that negativity out of him, and you see how is that battle gonna go? At what point does Navarrete's awkwardness and output start to kick in, and Conceicao can only be so negative, right? And then he has to start to trade because there's only so much clinching you can do, right? Um, I think this is the thing that people miss about Navarrete and why I have him on my at number 10 on my pound for pound list, why I consider him that type of talent, and why I disagree with a lot of people on that. People see Navarrete as a pressure fighter, but he's a tough pressure fighter to time, right? And you just brought up why. It's because, and by the way, I'm hearing an echo. So if you got something on your end, let me know. But I'm hearing an echo. But Navarrete, it's hard to time because he's throwing punches from different angles, right? He's throwing them from different angles. It's hard to start to time that, and it's hard to get him off of a rhythm. A lot of pressure fighters need that rhythm, and they get timed as the fight goes on, especially against good boxers. Navarrete is hard to time because he's throwing punches from different angles. He's throwing them different combinations, constantly different combinations. So it's why I like Navarrete, and I think he's a top talented fighter, and I think his skill level is undervalued. As far as this fight goes, I want to see who wins out as far as that goes, the negativity versus the output and the awkwardness. Another wild card here is you talked about it kind of, and it's what we've noticed. It's the elephant in the room when it comes to Navarrete, right? Is he'll have down performances. He had it against Liam Wilson. I remember you saying it at the time is don't sleep on Liam Wilson, and you were right about that. And Navarrete has those down performances to where he fights down to the level of competition, or if he's not that excited, or it's a style thing. He's an up and down type fighter, and I think that's why people keep him off of pound for pound list, right? Is yes, he'll look great against Valdez, but then he'll have that other performance where you're like, ah. And that's the wild card here is does Conceicao come out early, get him off of a rhythm? You can get rounds in and win rounds early against Navarrete, and does this become one of those nightmare nights for Navarrete to where it's like, oh man, he had something going and now it's completely down the drain and Conceicao upsets him because Conceicao is the type of fighter to do that. Ultimately, I think Navarrete wins this fight. You could be right. It could be a tougher performance than normal. But if you look at the betting odds here, they make it tough because I could see people betting Conceicao plus 710. Why not, right? Throw a little money down on that. And you could hedge that with betting a Navarrete decision or a KO. But that's the tough part here is, does he get a late stoppage in this fight? Does it go rounds? Is he not able to get through that negativity? That's the tough part when I'm looking at these betting odds. But ultimately, I would say maybe throw a little money down on Conceicao at plus 710 just in case. And then take your pick, Navarrete points or Navarrete late KO. I tend to lean towards Conceicao surviving and this being a Navarrete decision.
No, I agree. And I guess the automakers agree as well. But it's hard to say. Look, the thing about Navarrete that's very staggering, and we all kind of I mean, I guess it's you learn as the fights go on, but like in the Valdez fight, it made like I was sure of it now. This guy throws punches that look like arm punches, Alex, and it hurts guys.
Yeah.
Like it's that quick, like he has. It's that little pivot at an awkward angle that boxers just aren't taught to throw. I mean, it's is what it is. You know, throwing them from the side, like they're throwing them across, like I mean, just doing things that you're just taught not to do, but he does it because he positions himself in a way where he understands where he's at. He understands he's good where he's at,
Mm-hmm.
and he just he has that long wiry frame for the weight class, and he's just found a way to get leverage off those shots, even when they don't look as devastating. But like I mean, you look at the faces of these guys at the end of the fight, it
Yeah.
looks like they went through a meat grinder. You see how he was hitting Valdez, and he was visibly hurting him from round one. I think even Valdez, I'm sure, Reynoso and them, they watch film and were like, you would take those shots. I mean, they're not that bad or something, because he looked like kind of surprised by what he felt. So we're gonna see, right? Now Conceicao, he's taller than Valdez. So is that gonna help him a little bit size wise? We're gonna see. But I got Navarrete winning this fight, bro, and I think he's due a stoppage, and I think he's gonna get it. He didn't get in the Valdez fight, but I think he's gonna get it this time, and I think he's gonna try to make a statement. And
Mm.
whether he gets it, I don't know, because it's just tough to say. Because if he goes on survival mode,
That would be a hell of a statement, by the way. That'd
yeah,
be a hell of a statement.
yeah, like if you could stop a guy on survival mode, that's gonna be very interesting. Yes, Jesus, like the size, like he's Navarrete, like you saw in the Leon Wilson fight, it was a little harder for Navarrete because, like, okay, now you're in front of a dude bigger than you, bro, right? You're no longer the big dude, right? But I do think Leon Wilson hits harder than Conceicao. So it's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaning decision, but I'm gonna tell you right now, bro, straight up, this is my opinion. I'm staying out of this fight. I'm not betting this fight.
That's a smart play. Just stay out.
If anything,
Maybe.
I'll have Navarrete winning in a parlay, maybe. Like I think I'm pretty sure he's gonna win. But then, like, do you want to add it to the parlay because it doesn't give you that much value, right?
Or maybe it's type of fight you just look at live betting odds and play those too.
Yeah.
Because you'll get a good idea early on in this fight where it's going, I think. Let me ask you this, since you brought it up. If he does have that type of performance, if he stops a Conceicao, and let me throw out a scenario here in which, let's say Devin Haney loses to Regis Prograis or wins another debatable decision. And let me throw out another scenario. In a way, let's say he beats, we expect him to beat Tapales, but let's say he doesn't look all that great doing it. Is there then, would Navarrete be one of those guys that you could possibly throw in that conversation then for fighter of the year? He's one of the only there's only 4 fighters this year that are going to fight 3 times that are on the top 100 pound for pound list, ESPN. So, does he get in that conversation just off of activity and wins against Valdez and Conceicao?
What month was the Liam Wilson fight?
I think that was March. Was it?
Okay, so yeah.
Maybe
So
February.
look, at the end of the day, he did come back and stop him, right? So it is what it is. Um, would it be in the conversation? Yes. But man, those are a lot of stars you're aligning there, Alex. Like
I
Inoue
know.
needs to look normal. Like he needs to struggle
I'm
with
just throwing
the
out the scenario. So
Palas. Like,
I guess the real question I have to ask is, if he puts on a performance of the year tomorrow, one of his performances, like if he knocks out Conceicao and makes a statement, does that put
yeah,
him in like the top 5 conversation
he,
of
he,
the
he
year?
he would be like kind of like in the Oscars, right? He will have a nomination. He'll be nominated for possibly winning the award, and of course, how Inoue looks, of course, depends, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of us, including myself, have already anointed Inoue the fight of the year because
Yeah.
we're assuming about what he's going to do to Tapalas. We're looking at it like a coronation, but he still needs to do it, right? Like it's once in a while, the homecoming team does lose, right? So like we've got to wait and see what happens with that. But Hayne is in the discussion. I know a lot of people are not going to want to hear that, but Hayne is in the discussion. But again, if he
Mm-hmm.
loses to Progress, he's out of it.
Yeah.
And how he looks against Progress matters at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
It
If he looks
does.
like he did against Linares, I'm sorry. Like it's and oh, but what you said about we're saying the same thing about Inoue. If Inoue doesn't look good against Apollo, it's the same thing, right?
Yep.
So right now, Inoue is in the lead, in my opinion, because of how he looked against Fulton, and he's going to fight again. And Crawford's not going to fight again. Canelo didn't. I mean, Canelo won against Ryder, but he didn't look good. So it is what it is. You know that Haney and
Haney would be a clear second. I would say Inoue's the clear number 1, and then Haney would be
yeah, but
he's
again,
still got
we're
a
talking.
chance.
It's like a race that Inoue looks like he's projected to win,
Yeah.
but we still got to see how they each look in their next fight. That's going to matter. Like
Yep.
that's a big factor.
Yep.
So, but yes, can Navarrete, is he a dark horse in the running? Yes. He's there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not he might be like a 10-1 underdog and getting fight of the year, but he's there, like for sure. Another one that's there, but he won't win it is Tim Tszyu.
Yeah.
But Tim Tszyu's
Output.
a because of that, like he's the guy I'll say, okay, I'll put him in the top 5. You know what I mean? But can Navarrete surpass Tim Tszyu with a great performance over Conceicao? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Shakur, this is obviously the main event. Shakur versus De Los Santos. So I'll ask you again, could this be a dangerous fight for Shakur Stevenson? The top line betting odds are similar, 13-1, plus 720 for Edwin De Los Santos. So is De Los Santos the type of guy who you could see? I don't think this is as dangerous of a fight for Shakur as it is for Navarrete, given style of opponent. De Los Santos, 24 years old. So you could say in his athletic prime, still a bit of a wild card, only 5 years into his career. So there's still a lot of unknowns, but Southpaw seems to fight well against other Southpaws. A puncher, so he can punch. I just don't know if he's going to have the output to test Shakur Stevenson in this fight. I don't think he can hurt Shakur Stevenson in this fight. So I don't know if he possesses that equalizer or the stylistic matchup to give Shakur issues and pull off an upset. But I'll tell you what I'm playing here just off the top. I like Shakur Stevenson plus 320 KO. I like that in the plus territory because I think Shakur is one of those fighters, as he moves up to 135, his body is starting to fill out well. I think he has more power on his punches, and I think he's learning as time goes on. This is one thing he didn't have early on in his career. He wasn't as confident sitting on his punches, and he seems to be getting more confident sitting on those punches and taking a little bit more risk. We said it after the Nakathila fight, right? It's like, God, Shakur, I understand you won 12-0, but come on. Like, this guy was one-handed. You were so negative in that fight. You should have took more chances. I think we're starting to see more of that Shakur come out, especially as he goes up in weight and has a little more pop on his shots. I think he's going to translate well to 135, filling out that body. And anytime I see Shakur, A Shakur result in the plus territory, I'm just going to jump on it. It would be the same thing if points was in the plus territory. I feel confident he wins this fight, and I think a late stoppage is actually in play in this fight. I would lean towards it not happening. I agree with the odds, but I think it's worth playing at plus 320.
I think 320 is the play for sure. Like you're getting almost 4-1 odds, so that's really good. Well, not almost, but I mean almost 3.5 odds. But anyway, I think that's really good. Look, if anyone out there really believes that Los Santos is going to pull this off, right? Then you need to bet knockout. He
Yeah.
ain't going to beat Shakur by decision. I
Mm.
promise you that, right? Unless he gets a lot of knockdowns, but at that point, he's already hurting Shakur. What he needs to do, in my opinion, his only shot to win, and I know this is a year where like everyone's being careful about confidently saying this guy's going to dominate, and because like the dominations aren't coming all the time,
Yeah.
or it's a surprise year in that sense. And then when people say it's going to be competitive, it's not competitive. Like it's just one of those years. But there's one fight that I said he's going to destroy the guy. That was Crawford versus Spence, and that's how confident I'm about this fight. I do think Shakur Stevenson is. I'm not going to say easy because no fight's easy, but it's going to look easy. I think Shakur's going to completely outclass Erwin de los Santos. By round 3 or 4, I think people are going to say, "Yeah, this is not even close. He ain't doing anything to him." And mark my words, he is going to completely outclass him. The question is he going to take him the distance or is he going to knock him out? I like this more aggressive Shakur. You're a better fighter when you finish guys.
If
You
he gets
just,
that D style on top of the talent he has, if he couples that with entertainment value, whew,
yeah, like that. That's the thing. But here's what, for some reason, Calix, and I've noticed this in the last couple of years. A lot of boxing fans, even the ones that don't like the negative style, right, talk like being negative is better than
yeah,
being aggressive, right? And I don't know where people got that from. I think it depends. It depends on who you're fighting. It depends on the matchup. It depends on the circumstance. But sometimes being aggressive is the correct thing to do. They say punchers, you're supposed to get a puncher on his back foot. Okay, just like Fury, when Fury just boxed, right? Wilder, he actually got hurt and knocked down twice. He almost got knocked out. But when he got him on, when he got aggressive and put him on his back foot, he stopped him. And what did he do? He put an end to the threat. There's no better defense than knocking a man out. Because guess what? For the rest of the fight, you're not going to get. There's no rest of the fight, right? You
mm-hmm.
knock him out round 4. Guess what? Round 5, round 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You got hit 0% of the time. The threat is done with, right? And and not only that, like look at the Cordina fight last weekend. What's the first thing that Tony Bellew said? Oh, he's trying to be exciting. He can actually be. He could easily win this fight if he just boxed on the move and sit on the outside. But when Cordina tried that, Cordina was getting hit more.
Yeah.
Cordina got in more trouble when he went on his back foot. You know, like if I've seen fighters do interviews, like legends. Ray Leonard would say it. Look, it's okay to move and box, but sometimes you need to like you need to step to your opponent at some point. At some point, you need to show them that this is your ring. Like you can't be getting chased around the whole fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like at some point, you got to show like you're a versatile fighter by doing many different things. And the one thing people confuse about Floyd Mayweather, Cal, is that they assume Floyd always ran, but Floyd actually stepped forward a lot of the times.
He was a pocket fighter.
Yeah. So like Pernell Whitaker stood in front of guys. He would make a miss, right? And everybody talks about, and he did. He had amazing defense. But you know what they never say about Pernell Whitaker? A couple of times, Whitaker was actually one of the few fighters to land over 400 punches in a fucking fight
Mm-hmm.
per copy box. Well, That's offensive if you're throwing that much, right? So we are in a pot shotting era. That's what this is. It's a pot shotting era. So people think, well, just pot shot. Why put yourself in danger and this, that, and the third? Nah, man. Like pot shotting to me doesn't cut it. Like, okay, win a couple rounds that way, but at some point, you need to hurt your opponent. You need to show your opponent that you are the superior fighter. And what I'm liking about Shakur at 135, he's aggressive, or more aggressive, I should say, right? And he still boxes. He still doesn't. He still dominates in terms of who's getting hit and who's not. He's still on the top of the list with his jab, his defense per CompuBox. He's still doing all those things, yet he's putting the opponents away, right?
You can do all of them. You can do all of them together, right?
You could do all of them together. You know what? It makes you a more dangerous fighter. That's why when you were able to be the aggressor against Conceicao and you could always fall back to boxing Conceicao as well. And Conceicao didn't know what to do, right? So I just feel like that is what I want to see out of fighters, bro. I don't want to see pot shotting. I like Shakur being aggressive. Now, with that said, what De Los Santos needs, his only shot to win, in my opinion, he's very dangerous in the early rounds. Blitz him. Come out like a bat out of hell and try to knock Shakur's head off. Mm-hmm. I think that's what he needs to do. Make it aggressive. Try to make it an ugly fight. Try to force exchanges. Good luck doing that, but I think that's his best shot to win, my opinion.
Yep. I'll piggyback on that in a minute. Nando Yama's $4.99 super chat. That December 23rd mega card is all tune-ups. PBC Showtime could have closed their series with. Yeah, and we're going to get to that on the back end of this show because I have a lot to say about that card and the whole Saudi thing. Appreciate the super chat, Nando. I'm definitely going to get to that. Here's what I'll say about Shakur. I talked about, I think, what is undervalued about Navarrete earlier, his awkward style and that he's tough to time. And a pressure fighter that is tough to time and pick up a rhythm, I think is the most dangerous pressure fighter, right? A more versatile one. And they're just tough to figure out. And why Navarrete has success as the fight goes on. But one of the underrated things about Shakur, I see people talking about it, but I don't think people fully grasp his footwork. His footwork is great. You talked about other fighters, Pernell Whitaker, Floyd Mayweather. In order to be a pocket fighter that can just sit there and counter and not just step back and pot shot, you have to have great footwork. You have to have great foot placement, which helps with hand placement, right? Which helps with punch placement. And that's why I say I understand the sentiment that Shakur is pillow fisted. I get it. I understand the sentiment that Shakur doesn't necessarily have a lot on his shots. Fair enough, but the hardest shots to deal with are the ones you don't see. And if Shakur can start to sit on more of those punches, throw more of those punches to where he's sitting on them on a consistent basis throughout fights, I actually think as he moves up to 135, we'll start to see him be more of I don't want to say a power puncher because I don't think he's that, but I think we could see him style on guys as the fight goes on, make it a little more one-sided and embarrassing, and that can lead to stoppages, right? That can lead to the referee saying it doesn't necessarily have to be him one-hitter quitters, right? It could lead to referees saying, look, enough. This is a 9-0 fight. You're getting embarrassed. Let's just stop this fight. The corner throwing in the towel saying, look, enough of this. I think those are the type of knockouts that Shakur Stevenson could have. And that's what I'd like to see him go for, right? Is all of us, I think, see Shakur and see the talent. And you can put it together without even doing the eye test because all of his guys in his weight class are saying, pass. I'll pass on that. I'll pass on that. We're starting to hear fighters like a William Zepeda and a Mortatala say, yeah, I'll take that fight. And good. That's what we hope happens. And those are actually styles that we'd like to see if Shakur can deal with, right? But everything adds up to Shakur being a future pound-for-pound guy. Fair enough. But what I want to see that coupled with is entertainment value, because when you bring entertainment value to the table, you bring more eyeballs, you bring eventual pay-per-view buys, you bring live gates, and then fighters have to step in the ring with you. Because at that point, I understand at this point, there's money behind this fight. Let's step in the ring. And that's what I want to see from Shakur. I think he wins this fight going away, D-Cell. I think it's a possible late round stoppage. But what I want to see is entertainment tomorrow. I know I'm going to get that from Navarrete or try. He's going to try to. I hope Conceicao allows that type of fight. But I want to see entertainment from Shakur as well on a consistent basis. Anything you got to add to that? You're on mute, by the way.
The best way to beat a man is knock him out. Okay, once you knock him out, it's over. The more stoppages, the better. I want to go back to celebrating. Remember, like we used to celebrate finishers, and man, that's a skill. Being able to finish an opponent is a skill, right? Mm-hmm. Being able to take it to the opponent and end that fight and make short work of them is a skill, right? Having the ability to stop opponents is a skill. We've gotten away from that for some reason. Not us. Maybe not the people listening to us right now, but a lot of boxing fans.
The boxing world, yeah.
The boxing world has kind of made it this whole the. I've heard guys actually say this to me, like, I would rather get knocked the fuck out than outpointed for 12 rounds. Getting outpointed is so embarrassing. Like, no, actually, no. I don't want to be the dude like you're laying in the canvas like this. Like you're rather that than just look frustrated because you can't catch your opponent. Really? Like what are we doing here? You know, like I'm not saying either is good. What I'm saying is, you know, it's the whole point of fighting, Calix. Before rounds even came into play, when boxing had unlimited rounds, was the winner is the guy who's left standing. That's the winner, the last man standing. You can't beat the count, you lose, right? Every fight, the sport of boxing should be geared towards who's trying to make the fight, who's trying to get the finish. That's what boxing should be about, okay? I think this sport has overthought it. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like we've turned it into fencing with gloves. Oh, well, he's the ring general. He controls the action. He's making the fight what he wants it to be. And he's landing more jabs. Every punch counts the same. Like what? I've been in arguments with guys about like how a jab is the same as a big right hand. Like what? No, it's not. Like, what are we doing here? That's all I want to say, man. And another thing, Shakur's doing less of it, the holding. I don't know if you caught my live a couple days ago.
I did.
Okay, and here's my argument about the holding. And I don't think people understand me when I say this. And I think you and I are kind of aligned, if not mostly aligned with this. It's not the holding that I have an issue with. It's what boxing does about or doesn't do about it that I have an issue with. Okay? If you look at Rocky, when he was fighting Shakur Foster, yeah, he should have held. He should have held in those final set. He earned holding the dude while he's hurt because he was winning that fight, right? What I don't want is strategic clinching, right, with the help of the ref, and that's what frustrates me. Mm-hmm. You have two outboxers fighting from the outside, right? Or you have an outboxer that is, and all he does is jab, jab, jab. And when the opponent finally closes the distance, he grabs them, and then the ref breaks it up right away, separates them far apart, and all of a sudden we're starting all over again. The sport of boxing needs to decide what he wants to do about holding. I just wanted to put that as a side note, and people could check out that video, by the way.
Yep. Hit that like button, by the way, while y'all are here. Shakur's comments yesterday on the media. I don't know how many people caught him. Basically saying the boxing media is terrible. It sucks. I want you to set up exactly what he said. We can paraphrase. I think this was on Fight Hub TV, I believe.
Yeah.
So just paraphrase kind of what he said, and then we could talk about if we agree with it or not. Go ahead. Set it up.
A couple of things here. First of all, I don't know who this reporter is. Let me just say that. However, I'm going based off what Shakur was saying. That video starts with Shakur saying, man, you love Devin, bro. You keep asking me Devin Haney questions. And you know what? That's a good point. why is this dude keep asking Shakur about Devin Haney? In the week of the De Los Santos fight, you got credentialed to a top-ranked event for a Shakur Stevenson fight. I'm assuming it's credentialed, maybe it's not, but nonetheless, but you're there, right? And I get it. A Haney question here and there, okay. But if it got to the point where Shakur's like, bro, you love Devin Haney, right? And then he let him ask the question anyway, right? The publicist, you could hear in the background, like, ask questions about Delos. Now they could ask whatever, I don't care. So like, the guy literally goes, well, I was asking several people about that. You should have taken the fight. Edwin De Los Santos said that you should have taken the fight. He's like, what the fuck, Edwin? So the dude, he asked Edwin about Haney too, bro. Why are you asking Edwin De Los Santos about, why is this dude asking, just think about it. Why is he asking Edwin De Los Santos when Edwin De Los Santos is about to fight Shakur, right? Whether or not Shakur should have taken a 25% offer from Devin Haney. Why are you asking that question?
Which Bob, by the way, said wasn't a real offer.
Yeah, Bob said it wasn't a real offer. That's what Bob Arum said. But okay, so you let the cat out of the bag. Even Edwin said, okay. So you're asking Edwin, you're asking him, and then of course I guess Shakur is like, there's a lot of nuance to this. So there's some things I agree with Shakur, things I don't agree with Shakur. But he did say, this is why I see why Tank treats y'all the way he treats y'all. Your boxing media, you're the worst. Y'all have favorites, and then you basically cape for those favorites. I'm paraphrasing at this point. And then he just went ahead and said, "Who the fuck is Edwin De Los Santos? Like, I don't care what Edwin De Los Santos. He's about to fight me. So that was basically the gist of it." And here's what I think happened, Calix. Because a couple hours later, like Haney tweets out, like, "Oh, you have to use my name for a cloud or whatever the hell he said, right? To sell tickets for your event." That sounds like collusion, bro. That sounds like this dude was there doing a favor for you. It was probably texting Devin or Bill Haney, and because I've heard Bill Haney kind of handles the account too of Devin Haney. And I've seen screenshots that people have shown me of Bill Haney before, trying to collude and trying to lead people to shit. So it is what it is, okay? Bill Haney is well versed in social media, how it works, how the YTBC works, how the LDBC works, how Twitter works. He knows. Okay, I've seen shit. All right, and this sounds like to me like this guy was probably like, I'm gonna ask him about Devin Haney and why he's turning down the fight, Bill or Devin, whoever, right? And then he goes there. He's just asking Devin Haney questions like, "Oh, well, why did you buy Devin Haney? Do you think you should have taken a fight with Devin Haney? Do you think you should have taken the 25% with Devin Haney? And what do you think? Like, whatever, right?" To the point where like Shakur was like, "What, are you in love with Devin Haney? What the fuck's going on, right?" So I honestly think there was some collusion. I have reason to believe, and I know. Shout out to Hot Boxing Mini. He said he felt like it was like ambush journalism, right? And I think it was all set up to make Shakur answer questions about Devin Haney, so then it could come out that he's talking about Devin Haney, so Devin Haney could tweet out, or Bill, whoever it is behind that account, so they could tweet out that Shakur he can't stop talking about Devin Haney. Devin Haney lives, I guess he lives in his mind rent free. Nah, I think something was going on. I'm just saying. I think some collusion was going on, or the guy was just trying to do the favor for the Haneys to stay on their good graces. And oh, look, see, boss, see what I did? See, I'm a good boy. I went over there and I asked, Shakur Stevenson about Devin Haney. Yeah. Can you come to my channel do an interview? Can you give me access? Do I have behind the scene access? I think that something along the line, but something like that happened, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Now, I have more thoughts overall about the media, but I want your thoughts about what Shakur said and my theory.
Well, my overall thoughts on it are, at the end of the day, who loses? Us, the boxing fans. Just boxing fans who want good coverage of the sport. you can understand why certain fighters will get a little testy and honorary with the media. But then in other cases, when we say stuff, right? And then we have not only power brokers, but certain fighters will come after us on Twitter sometimes. You say, man, y'all are so thin skinned. I feel like they lump us in with that media and think that we're just being negative towards them. And that's not what it is, man. It's just being critical. And we feel like fighters should have thicker skin or behave more like fighters. But it all gets muddied from stuff like this. It's like you said, like why think about what they're doing. They're asking Edwin De Los Santos how he feels about Shakur versus Haney. And then they'll come back to Shakur and say, what do you think about Edwin De Los Santos' opinion on you versus Haney? And then this all becomes TMZ type media. And we talked about the old media versus new media. It's tough to even say who is old media versus new media at this point, but it seems to me it's all becoming state run media. And you talked about LDBC, PBC, Twitter. There are certain pockets that are have a lot of vitriol, right? And unfortunately, you can't ignore them because huge bases, huge fan bases. When you see lives doing 600, 650 people, you can't ignore it. It's there. That's the big base. That's big media at that point. And the issue becomes when I start to see big time publications I don't want to say they're pandering, but I see certain rankings that are off. They're off. They're clearly against that publication's values, and they're clearly off. And I'll just throw a specific example. When I see a Tank Davis pop up in the top 10 pound for pound list, and I've seen that pound for pound list in that panel before, and they heavily weigh resume and who fighters fight. I know why they're doing that. They're worn down from the vitriol that's coming at them constantly. And this is the tough part about this is at the end of the day, we don't really have a voice as a boxing fans anymore. Just good-natured boxing fans who don't really care about all of that substance or surface level stuff. We just care about the substance of the sport. We're left out in the cold because we're watching these press conferences and we're like, what is this? Like, can we talk about the matchup? Can we talk about what possibly De Los Santos can bring to the table? And then, we can talk about realistic matchups in the future. And then when I bring up, why can't we talk about Tank versus Shakur? And then people jump down my throat for asking that question. Just something as simple as that. That's the tough part about this because as boxing fans, we're left out in the cold.
Yeah, there's a couple of things to kind of, it's like an onion. Like we got to go by a layer here. So I'll try to go as quickly as I can. Look, so first of all, people need to understand that boxing media is a very vague term. Like, what does that mean? Right? Because there's so much, like, even within quote unquote, I don't consider us media. Like, we're just dudes talking about the sport. That's all we are.
Yeah.
But we're considered media, though. Like there's people that consider us that, right? Because we cover the sport. But I just, it is like, it's a lot to unpack here. I just think people need to understand the following. And I think fighters need to understand this. Okay. And it sucks for a lot of people because I think there's a lot of good natured people covering the sport of boxing for no money. They spend money out of their own pocket to travel, gas, plane, hotels. I know some of them. Okay, they spend hundreds, thousands of dollars to go to these events, and they literally do it for the love of the sport. That's it. Like, that's why they do it, right? Because there's a vacuum there. There's a gaping hole of lack of coverage for the most part, and they feel like they want to go do it. By lack of coverage, I mean from the mainstream media. The mainstream media does not cover boxing, right? So that's why you have a lot of, like people that even well-intentioned people don't understand journalism. They don't understand like really what they're doing, but they're good-natured in what they're trying to do. They're just trying to cover the sport that they love. Um, Here, like I use my YouTube AdSense and super chat money to help fighters. Like that's what I do. Everyone has their own thing, but like this sport, like a lot of people in the YTBC, I feel get lumped in with,
Mm-hmm.
with the grifters. Like they get
And I
lumped
know
in with
that's
people with
I know
agendas.
that's I know that's true because I've reached out to good journalists about coming on my channel, and they're just they've had bad dealings with YouTube. And even if I have good relationships with these people, they still don't want to come on
Yeah,
YouTube.
look, all the YTBC started as, and we want to go by the YTBC. It was just guys like Calix, me, Blood, right? You had 97 Rough, you had Joe Habib, you had
Omega Boxing, he was one of the first.
Omega Boxing. Like there's so many. Budasai, like all it was coming on here to talk boxing because we didn't have anybody to talk boxing with. Like I was talking to Joe Beef the other day on the phone, and we're talking about George Foreman. I don't know how George Foreman came up, but we were talking about George Foreman, and he said, "Yeah, back in the day when boxing was popular, we used to talk boxing at work, and I would play around with my friends and do the cross arm defense in front of them, like playing around, like." But we don't live in those days anymore. Like now, we're living in an age, right, where we just want to talk boxing with people. That's all we're trying to do, bro. You know. But there's like this super chats came along. Like, I'm not saying it's a good thing or bad thing. It's a double-edged sword. Ad money came along. Like, remember, back in the day, we didn't make anything on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
There was no money to make. Like, literally, we didn't make any money doing this. So, obviously, since there was money involved, more people got involved, which I'm not even saying it's a bad thing, but there are people with agendas. And there's also people that found a lot of success on YouTube, right? And good for them, but at the same time, not all of them, but some of them depend on that income, right? And to keep that income, they depend on access, right? They want to bring in the guests, they want to do those interviews, right? So I could see why they move the way they move sometimes. Like you could see it, just follow the money. It's not that hard. Like I was called a grifter because I'm big on Inoue. What you think? Like what does that even mean, bro? Like what? What? I'm not. We're not making bank. We got one $5 super chat. So we started the show. Like, we're not over here like we're not making it rain. We're not. And I promise you this: you watch a show with me and Calix, the energy is the same, the quality is the same, everything's the same, whether we get super chats or not. We're doing this for the love of it. That's why we're doing this. We don't start yelling at people if they don't give a super chat. We don't start getting mad at people because well, why are you giving super chats to them? Give it to us. And we don't do all that dumb shit, right? Anyway, I'm saying all that to say this: Tank Davis, like, and his team refusing to give access to the ring because they wrote some articles maybe questioning level of opposition is not the same thing that happened to you, Shakur. Okay? Those are two completely different things. So when you say, now I see why Tang does this to y'all, like, well, based on what? Right?
Mm-hmm.
The way Leonard Allerby acts towards people, just giving basic criticism about things, right? And harasses them and sends his minions to go dox people, and that because we're criticizing Tang Davis, right? Is not the same thing as some bozo asking you over and over again about Haney on your foot. Like, that's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a nuance I wanted to tackle. And yes, there are people that, for whatever reason, right? They ruin it for everybody, bro. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about because I've asked people that want to come on. Oh, I don't know, man. I've had bad experiences on YouTube. I don't know, man. And it's like, look, it is what it is, right? But all you got to do is look at the resume and look at our content. That's it. But all I got to say is this is Shakur. There are people that are going to cover you. and they're going to criticize you, but there's people that are fair, right? Fair criticism, even if you agree or disagree with the criticism, is different to agendas. It's different to ambush journalism. It's different to that. What happened to Shakur was ambush journalism. So he rightfully called it out. I just think some of the things, like the whole, like, now I see why tank. Like, I mean, I don't know about all that. You know, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. So just to wrap this up, what I would tell fighters is this: I empathize. I understand the waters have been muddy. It's tough to see if this guy is ambush journalism or if this is just fair. And then fighters start to treat fair criticism like somebody is hating on them, right? And I want to see less of that, because you do have a lot of fighters on Twitter in particular with thin skin now. So I want to see fighters toughen up in that sense. Fighters have enough representation. I feel like every big fighter, they have great power brokers that are leading their career, networks behind them, a lot of money behind them. We would argue a lot of them are getting overpaid. But also you have state-run media. All of them have their own form of state-run media, right? Some of them bigger than others, but Shakur would have his state-run media out there as well. They all have that.
You
What
know
I
when
want
it
to
started,
see,
Alex?
where did it start?
With Fight Hype and Floyd.
Mm-hmm. Floyd hype. Floyd hype. But they all have that version of it, right? They all have that Floyd hype state-run media. They all have it. So what I'm saying is everybody seems to have representation. All of these fighters have their fanatical bases. Like we talked about the LDBC, certain fighters have gravitated towards that to get their state-run media talking points out, right? You talked about Bill Haney. He'll go over there. Deontay Wilder, unfortunately, warmed up to that side. And they understand there's a lot of clicks there, and these people are going to, no matter what I do, they're going to take up for it. What I want to see is there is a vacuum out there that I would like to see a bigger platform take advantage of, and that's just people like us, people like that are in the chat that just want boxing talk. We don't have we feel abandoned out here. We feel like we don't have proper representation. And if you follow other sports, you see it, right? Like in college football, you have the dinosaurs on ESPN, say, and they'll talk about how great the SEC is and everybody else sucks, stuff like that. But then you have the newer media that comes in and combats that, right? You'll have the dinosaurs say, no, we need to go back to just a national championship and bowl games. And then you got people like me who want a playoff, a real playoff. And then you'll have new media come in and you'll have that healthy battle. It'll be a healthy battle. You don't really have that here because the newer type media, the YouTube guys are so full of vitriol that it's just everybody has picked up their swords and there's no trust. We need that healthy battle between
but
all of the media outlets.
Everyone plays a role in what's happening here. Okay, everybody, fans, fighters, promoters, PR people, and just let me put it this way, okay? When Floyd started giving access to Fight Hype, especially, but mainly people that courted his favor, right? Like they were there to not question him, don't ask tough follow-ups. He didn't like when Montoya questioned him, like you know what I mean? He didn't like being questioned harshly. Once fighters saw that, like, okay, I don't, you know, and I actually have an example of this, by the way, but before I go there, so Floyd helped really look how Fight Hype grew because Floyd supported them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's hard to it's hard to like tell Fight Hype why'd you do that? Because from their perspective,
They were
we were successful. This worked for us till this day. Like Leonard Allerby retweets them and follows them, and you look at channels that are very pro Floyd, very pro Tank. They go out of their way to say, "Oh, those guys are the real talk. Oh, they're the ones telling the truth." Da, 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 right? And what started happening is a lot of channels started to become they started to do PR, right? And they saw the benefits of it. Deontay Wilder, after the Glovegate situation, right? Before his third fight, like even before that, he was only giving access to certain channels, right? That he felt were good to him. Let me put it this way: Deontay Wilder thought Nestor Gibbs saying, "Hey, I support the champ. I just don't think you were drugged, and I don't think there was egg weights in the glove." He cut ties with Nestor Gibbs. He's like, I don't want anything to do with this motherfucker. If you're not going to support me, and like you have to believe those things to get access to Wilder. Why do you think Alex Setback goes out of his way? Every time he interviews Wilder, he starts insinuating or flat out saying that Fury cheated, right? Wilder didn't even want. Christina Pancha is one of the nicest people in the fucking boxing industry. Didn't want to answer any of her questions. Just stayed silent like a dick. And then he goes back to because she's over there like, you know what I mean? Them. I want people that me, I guess is what he meant. You know what I mean? Like so who got access? We know who got access, right? And shout out to them. You got your access. Cool. Alex Setback was one of them, and then Barbershop was one of them.
Speaking of Ellie, go ahead, Lord.
Yeah, like what are we doing?
I saw Ellie on Twitter the other day saying, "Why would Tank fight Haney?" Or why would?
Yeah, I don't want to see it. You'll beat him anyway. Like dude ain't even hiding it, bro. Okay, and guess what? He gets access, and you get the Leonard Allen. Oh, real talk. Yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about right here. Like, you know what I mean? This guy right here. Like, so that's what we're dealing with at this point, right? And to me, media needs to be independent to everything. Did you see Floyd Mayweather at that? He had his young fighter, his young prospect, and then all the guy said was, hey, you're being promoted by one of the greatest to ever do it. And Floyd goes to the podium. What do you mean the greatest to ever do it? Oh, who beat more world champions? You did. Who beat more? You did. Who did it? Mayweather did. Well, so you're trying to say what? Oh, that you're the greatest of all time. Like, bro, like that was a setup.
It's embarrassing too.
Like what are you doing? That's obvious, bro.
As a grown man, why would you even why would you partake in
I would just be like, with all due respect,
you did. You did.
Yeah,
why as a grown man? Come on.
You called him one of the greatest to ever do it, and that's a compliment. But guess what? They set that up. Floyd wanted to say that he wanted someone to say he's the best of all time. Like, how sad is that? That you're getting somebody in a press conference and, hey, say this, and I'm going to go to the podium. I'm going to ask you some questions. You say you did, and then I'm gonna be like, I don't want to say it, so I want you to say it. I'm gonna be so that means what? Like, think about how sad that is, bro.
It is sad.
That's sad, brother. Like, come on, what are we doing here? And those are the type of people doing media. So I understand what people say. That, yeah, you guys over there. Like, all I know is this. I think a lot of content creators like us, right? And maybe, I don't know, I guess we're guilty of it too, I guess. I don't know. I don't think we are. But we need to stop, maybe stop nitpicking each other as much, right? And really point out the ultimate fakes, right? Because there's some ultimate fakes out there that we're not pointed out. And look, obviously, a lot of this trickles down from the Fight High Floyd Mayweather days, and now we have what we have. Bill Haney has basically told people, I'm only do certain shows. I just seen things. I'll just put it that way, okay? And there's fighters out there that only want to give access to certain people, okay? There's a certain trainer, I'm not going to mention his name. He has a female fighter. I had reached out about 2.5 years ago. Okay. His fighter had just won the world title. Before that, I reached out. If they want to come on HCP, I reached out after that. The guy said, sure, just let me know remind me later in the week, maybe on Wednesday. I message him on Wednesday. He doesn't respond, right? But he tweets out, oh, you boxing media guys is looking for clout or something like that, right? And I was just like, what is this? All right. Then he does a little podcast and he starts saying, why would I help you guys out if I could do my own podcast with my fighter? Right. So you want to ask your fighter questions? What are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like I of course, just give or take. Of course, yes, you help when you come on, but like there's also something about having an independent person asking you questions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that there's just something about that. It doesn't have to be me, by the way. If you want to say no, we're not interested, that's fine. But don't come out and give the reason being, oh, because I could ask the question myself. What? What are we
Yeah.
doing here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what? So that's all I wanted to say, but it is what it is, you know.
So I
Can't
have
hear you, Cal.
some thoughts on this December 23rd. You hear me now?
Yes.
You got me? Okay, so I have some thoughts on this December 23rd Saudi Arabia card. But before we get to that, some breaking news. Shock Foster, multi-fight deal to Top Rank. I think this is a great deal, great look for Shock Foster. A guy who I think he wanted to sign with Metro. I think he wanted to go over there and fight the Cordina for fight. He's been wanting that Cordina unification for a while. I think he was willing to go over there and fight anybody. Lee Wood moving up, Warrington moving up. I think Matchroom was his ideal fit where they wanted to go, but it was clear at this point that Eddie Hearn is not trying to make Cordina versus Shock Foster. And, you know, that's a different discussion for a different day, but Shock Foster was left with what he was left with. And I think this is going to be a good deal for him. Why? Because it puts into play in 2024 a possible showdown with Navarrete, right, at 130, a unification fight. It brings in a possible opponent for Navarrete at 130 for a unification. People are also throwing out that it could also lead to a possible opponent, sort of a Tank Davis versus Hector Luis Garcia move, right, to where Shock Foster can move up from 130 to 135 to fight Shakur Stevenson next year and then still keep his belt at 130 and just move right back down, right? So Shock Foster could be an opponent for both Navarrete and possibly Shakur Stevenson at 135, giving them a possible opponent, named opponent, and on top of that, giving Shock Foster an avenue forward for a unification fight, a bigger fight that he's been lacking, right? He's been lacking that star-studded fight, that event, that main event, and that's what they've been wanting. So I think this is a good move for everybody involved. You agree?
Look, I do like. I'm not against it. I think it's good that he's going to obviously be fighting now. I think. Well, he's been fighting, but I mean, like, we're kind of guaranteed to see him because he's under a contract, and Top Rank has dates, right, with ESPN. So he doesn't have to worry about waiting to see who he could fight. He's coming off that great win against Rocky Hernandez. Talk about clutch. You know, like that was a clutch win. Like he needed to go out there, he needed to get the knockout, and he did it.
He's another guy that can become one of those out of nowhere, like one of those vulnerable, entertaining fighters too.
Yeah, like I just think he's exciting to watch. He's skilled, and you know, if you keep fighting top guys, you're going to be vulnerable. You know what I mean? I like a possible Navarrete fight. I think that's a good unification fight. I don't know if he'll get it or they're going to go with Navarrete Shakur at 135. I don't know what they're going to do yet, but he's still in the mix. You have a name like Valdez out there that he could fight
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
You know, you got other guys at 130 that if Hoyt moves up, that's a fight. If there's other guys that could potentially move up at one point, like a Robesi Ramirez, perhaps. They're at 126, but he's gonna have fight. If Conceicao pulls the upset, that's a fight right there. So yeah, I like it. Plus, another thing about Top Rank is they've shown that they don't mind sending a guy out there to the other side. Like they don't mind, like the top Bob Arum will work with Eddie Hearn. You know what I mean? Like he's said it. Like he's Bob Arum's the guy that just does it. Like he's not like Deloy out here talking about we gotta work together, guys. Guys, get together. Let's work together. All of a sudden, wants to like it was Lonesome Eddie last week, but now you want to work together. But Bob Arum literally has worked with people. Like he just does it. You know, he sent Santiano over there to fight Rocha. if it's the right situation, like with Ramirez, he sent him to the zone to fight Hooker, right? Like he's not against it, bro. He just isn't. So so I'm not ruling out a Cordina fight. I'm
Mhm.
not. Like I think it's
Yeah, it's another
possible.
one. That's another one. Is Eddie can pick up Cordina's guarantee.
Yeah.
Bob can pick up Oshake's guarantee, and they can make something
Yeah, because
happen. You're
the
right.
whole thing, oh well, he wants too much money. Okay, well let Aram and Top Rank worry about that.
Yeah, there you go. Let him
Right?
guarantee his side. Two other topics I forgot about. I just remembered, and Nando brought up one of them. But the first one, I thought about you when I heard this earlier today. Inoue Tapales winner is mandated to fight Luis Neri, and you're the one who's been bringing that up for a while. Is don't look. I understand 126 may be in the cards in the future, but Neri is look out for a Neri fight at 122. That's a possibility, and it looks like that could be coming to fruition in early 2022. I don't know if you have thoughts on that. And Barboza, the Golden Boy, I love that move. Love that move. Let's get Barboza busy, and I think that's a good spot for him because, like you said, Golden Boy is willing to work with different promoters. I think that's a good spot for him right there at 140.
I'm just happy for Barboza, period. But I still think it could have worked out with Top Rank. I just don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't
But
either.
okay, it's fine. Like sometimes, hey, you got to switch teams. It is what it is. It benefits both sides, maybe. But one thing I'll say about Barboza is this: he's exciting to watch. He's good for TV. He's one of my favorite fighters out there. Like I think Barboza is very fun to watch, and we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know where he's gonna go, but you know, the fight I want to see, Calix, is a Progress fight,
Mm-hmm.
and win, lose or draw for Progress.
Yeah.
If he gets outboxed by Haney, if he beats Haney, whatever it is, right? Barboza versus Progress is a barn burner, bro. That is a fight of the year candidate. That's a
Yeah.
great fight. That's a really good fight, and I hope it happens. Plus, there's some history there. There's some bad blood, so I think the strength and conditioning coach probably be saying some stuff like what I mean. So they might get to barking at each other, but those guys don't just show their teeth; like they bite in a fight. So they're gonna fight, and it's a fight I would like to see. And if De La Hoya is out there saying, "Hey, let's work together, Eddie, let's do it," I'm all for it. It's whatever to me. They're both on the zone at this point.
And
So
here's another thing
it's
people
a
aren't
fight I want.
mentioning is everybody's trying to leverage themselves for a Ryan Garcia fight at 140. And if you get momentum there, then that's a possible fight that you can get in the future as a Ryan Garcia fight. So keep that in mind as well. I think it's a good move for him. And I think it'll get him active at 140.
Yeah.
Now, the Saudi Arabia card, December 23rd. You got some heavy hitters on this card. AJ versus Otto Wallen is the headliner. Wilder versus Parker. Hergovich is on this card. Bivol versus Arthur. Opatai versus Zordo. Dubois versus Miller. Frank Sanchez is on this fight, fighting Junior Fa. You've got some heavy hitters on this card. Let me talk about the pros first. Heavy hitters, right? This is top to bottom what you would say names on this card.
Mm.
Um, so obviously they're good at putting on these fights. Some of these fights are stylistically good matchups, right? Or fun matchups. I think that AJ versus Otto Wallen could get interesting. I think that Wilder versus Parker is going to be a fun fight. However long it lasts, it's going to be a fun fight. And we're going to start to get an idea of how much does Wilder have left? One win in 4 years, right? The past year, he's had like 30 seconds of action. So we're going to get an idea of where he is as a fighter and Joseph Parker as well. So you've got some okay matchups in this card. I like Sanchez versus Fa. Here are the negatives. Before I go into the negatives, what are your positives as far as this card? What do you like about this card?
Well, the one thing I like about it is that we're going to get these guys in the ring before the year's over. I mean, that's number
Mm-hmm.
one. I also like the fact that they're kind of establishing, okay, this is the time of year the Saudis are going to do fights, right?
Yeah, a season.
Yeah, a season. Now we don't know like. I have a feeling, especially the heavyweights, especially somebody like Bivol. By the way, he's back. You know what I mean? Somebody finally got a genie in a bottle, right? Rubbed the bottle. The genie came out. Like, what do you want? And the person went, I want Bivol versus Arthur, right? And the genie delivered. Like you know what I mean? It's not the Arthur we wanted, but the guy didn't specify. But at least he's getting back in the ring. Thank God. But anyway, I just don't know how like it's gonna affect our guys going to be holding off to the Saudi season, waiting for a big payday. We just don't know yet. We don't know how it's going to impact the rest of the year, right?
Right.
But for now, we'll worry about that next year. For now, I like the card. I would have just preferred, this is me. Let's just do AHA versus Wilder already, and then you could do Otto Wilder against Parker at the undercard. Like I'm good with that. I would prefer that, but I don't want to complain over spilled milk. Like it is what it is. Like it's still a good card. I think we're gonna find out how much we're gonna find out a lot about. This is the fight where we're gonna find out more about AJ, where he's at, and where Otto Walden's really at. We're gonna find out some stuff here, and I think that's what makes this fight intriguing. And of course Parker. Look, Parker's a tough dude. He's pretty decent hand speed. Good boxer, but we saw what we saw against Joe Joyce, right? I mean, it is what it is.
Yep.
I just think the inevitable is going to happen. I think he's going to get knocked out against Wilder. When it happens, I'm not sure, but if he does knock him out, I hope at least it goes like 6-7 rounds for Wilder's own sake. Like he needs rounds, but we'll see what happens. Now, if Wilder loses that fight, Wilder's done. The same with AJ. Like it just is what it is. I'm just surprised. Like, how did they determine who's in the main event? Like all those egos. Like,
It's funny how Saudi money seems to quiet guys down, right?
yeah, and
Seems to
all of a sudden,
quiet them
Wilder's okay
down.
with being in a pre-main. He's good with it now. Like you know what I mean?
I wasn't gonna bring it up. I wasn't gonna
Like
be the
all
one
of
to
a
bring it
sudden,
up.
like it's funny how money just you know what I mean? Um, because I could have envisioned that if you would have told me, I would have been like, I don't know, is he going to be in the undercard? Like his ego is so big that it's not just him, but it's a lot of fighters. But okay, because hey, he's an undercard fighter.
Anytime you see this many names on a card, they threw money out there like crazy because, like you said, egos get in the way. Fighters start to talk about ring size and glove size, and I want to be first on the poster. I want to be the main event instead of the co-main event. When you start to see something like this come together, that's when the Saudis just have that FU money to where, no, stay quiet. You're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, and they're going to stay quiet and they're going to take the money and they're
Remember
going to fight whoever.
when you were a kid, like at least me, when I was a kid, um, if like if I wanted to like go to the store, or I wanted to go buy candy at the corner store, or whatever it was, right? Or if I was bothering my dad too much or my mom too much, like they would always just throw like a $10 bill at me, like, "Hey, just go buy whatever you want. Get out of here." Like, you know what I mean? And I was happy. I was, oh shit, I got $10. Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like that's what the Saudis do. Like they just like shut up. Like,
Today it's the tablet. Today you give the kid the tablet and they go watch the tablet. They're
oh
like
yeah,
this
yeah.
close to the screen, and it's the tablet these days. You want your kid to shut up, just give him the tablet. Go somewhere, and that's what the Saudis are doing. The Saudis are just giving
There you
like
go.
Deontay Wilder a tablet and saying, "Here you are." And Deontay Wilder is just taking that tablet. That's what they're doing with this money.
Like
But
remember, like because we get a lot of dudes on here, right? This is reminding me of a Kid Rock skit. Do you remember when Kid Rock did the whole like y'all think these athletes are rich? You know who's rich? The guys that sign their checks. Those are the rich
uh,
guys. Like here's Shaq. Go buy yourself a nice bouncy car. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's what the Saudis are doing, brother. It's like, here you go. All right, go yell bomb squad over there, and just we'll see. But you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. You know what I
go
mean? Like
yell bomb squad over there. Just go do
Eddie,
it.
Eddie and Warren. I'm the lead promoter. I'm the lead. You know what, Eddie? Whatever. Shut like get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Like we don't
yeah.
give a shit who the lead promoter and who like. By the way, I don't even care about all that. Like I saw people beefing over who's the lead promoter. I don't care.
No,
Just give me the
but
fights.
just to wrap up the positives is Bivol and Opatai are active, right? I don't like the fights. I'm not intrigued by either one of those fights, but at least we get to see them, right? These are guys that are pound for pound talented. They're pound for pound talents, and you want to see those guys fight. And not every fight has to be a home run. So let's get these guys active.
Yeah, look, they're on
Um,
undercards. They're Open Tide just fought not that long ago. It's going to stay active and get ready for. I'm hoping that Breedis rematch would be big next year. Bivol needed to fight somebody.
yeah.
Bivol needed to come out of the hole where he was. You know what I mean? But he said he would fight Archer, and here we are.
Yeah. And this is what I'm hoping happens with this Riyadh season or whatever they call it is we at least let if you're going to do marination, you got to get to it quick. So if you're going to do AJ and Joshua or AJ and Wilder in separate fights, you got to do it the next fight quick, right? Much like with Tyson Fury. If you're going to do that fight that he just did, you got to give us the Usyk fight in a quick turnaround. And hopefully that season, that's what we have is boom, boom. All right, this might not be the fight you want, but the next one right behind it is. I'll believe it when I see it, though. This is the negatives I feel about this is marination. Like you said, let's just get to it. I don't want to see. I have no tolerance anymore for any type of marination, and in fact, I'm to the point now, D style, where I want it all to be upset. I want it gone. Um,
Yeah.
let's. So I'm actually cheering for chaos, and forgive me. I'm cheering for chaos. Forgive me.
Okay,
I was cheering
are
for
still going to
when it
get
looked like.
Parker versus Wallen on next year?
Forgive me for this, but when Tyson Fury looked like he was in trouble in his last fight, I'm cheering for the opponent. When if Parker starts to give Wilder trouble, I'll start cheering for Parker. I want to see the marination upset as much as possible so the power brokers start to get the point that these fighters today aren't good enough. They're not great enough to assume that they can beat an Otto Wallen, to assume they can beat a Joseph Parker and just go to the next fight. They're not good enough anymore. So get to the point. Give the boxing fans what they want to see. That's my frustration with this card is the marination part of it and the price tag. Like you said, we always say this. When you slap pay-per-view, when you slap that extra charge on something, it has to be something. And to me, this isn't pay-per-view value. It's not. If you're going to try to charge me $85 for this, I'm out because I need better matchups here. I need more intriguing matchups. I need that big matchup. And that would have been AJ versus Wilder. Charge me $85 for that. I'll buy that. But if you're going to give me them after a year plus of talking about AJ versus Wilder's coming, AJ versus Wilder's coming, and I'm ready for it, right? And then they start to hit you with that foreplay again. It was like, no, man, I was kind of ready to climax. And no, more foreplay. And
Oh, pause.
pause. But I wanted AJ versus Wilder. That's what you promised me. And now you're going to give me, nope, AJ
It's,
versus.
it's like ordering something on Wish, and you're excited about it coming, and you open the packet.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I didn't
look,
want to see. I don't AJ versus Wilder for on a non pay per view. If you didn't promise me AJ versus Wilder, is okay. But
yeah,
if it's a pay per view and then you promised me AJ versus Wilder and you're giving me AJ versus Wilder, and oh by the way, Wilder could upset the apple cart there. So that's what I'm actually cheering for. Is if you're not going to give me the fight when I want, I hope it's just spoiled. Just spoil it. That's where I'm at with it now.
there is
And this is another
chaos.
part of this D style. Yeah, give me
Maybe it is
chaos.
a day of reckoning.
This is me, the Joker, outside of the window, just screaming with the hair in the wind. That's me right now. Chaos. Give me the chaos. Blow it all up. If you're not giving me the fights I want, blow it up. But this is the
So
other
it is
part
pay
about
per view
this.
though.
It's pay-per-view. And this is another thing, D style, is you and I are alluding to it. I see people actually cheering it on. Well, at least we're getting the fights we want. And look at all this, the big names fighting and all that stuff. Be careful what you wish for because this Saudi thing, to me, it screams money washing. To me, it screams the Saudis are trying to get in people's good graces outside of the sports world, so they're
Yeah,
using the sports world to do it.
there's other external.
You can't like when I see people just tossing money away like this. There's no way they're making money off of these
Let me
fights
put it
tossing
this way,
money.
Alex. Look, I've done construction. I've done pest control. I've worked with people that own companies. Like my uncle owns a company, like a construction company. And we know what it's like when someone comes in and starts charging prices that we know they're not making a profit off of, right?
Right.
And we're not going to do it because we're not losing money, right? But what it does, it affects everyone's business, right? It throws the market off, and then customers become accustomed to paying those prices. And when that company no longer doing that anymore because they're out of business or they're gone now, or it was like a big company that was willing to lose money, but then they kind of settled in, right? But now they're charging their regular price, and then they want those prices again, and it's kind of hard to kind of move the Overton window back to like the way it's supposed to be with people. What's going to happen here? Look, you're going to have a hard time. You're getting AJ to fight another Otto Wallen for less money. Good luck.
It's not going to happen.
Good luck doing it. And you know what? I don't like. This is where I say I can't blame the fighters for this. Like this is the enablers are doing this now. In this case, it's the Saudis. And it's hard to tell a fighter, don't take that money. It's hard to say that to a fighter when like they're gonna make life-changing money. You know what I mean? But good, like I don't know how much you're gonna pay Bivol, right? You know, I'm not even saying I want him to not get paid. I'm just saying I don't know what they're paying him. You think Bivol's gonna go back to like the zone and just fight somebody for what he was making before? I don't think so.
Nope.
Not for that level of opponent. So that's what we're kind of. We don't know the effects that it's going to have moving forward.
There's no way it can be sustainable. No way.
But I agree that it's not sustainable. But once the whole point of something not being sustainable is, okay, once that quote unquote goes out of business, it's not being done anymore, right? What's the aftermath of it? Like the ones that are still in the business of it are going to have to be the ones dealing with the problem. We already have a problem with inflated purses. We've been talking about this for what, 3-4 years already, like consistently. We already have this issue. So like, this is going to make it worse, bro. In my opinion, you know what I mean? If let me put it this way, Callan. Let's say next year Eddie wants to do, hypothetically, wants to do AJ versus Wilder in March or something, right? And they offer Wilder the same money he made to fight Parker. And he offers AJ the same money he made it Saudi to fight fucking Otto Wallen. You think they're going to take that fight?
It's already happening, D-Style. It's the reason we haven't gotten Fury versus Usyk until next February. They could have made that fight in the UK. Why didn't they? Because they're waiting on the Saudi bag to fall.
Like, I kind of feel like, and I was very supportive of Andy Ruiz at the time, but now I'm looking at things in hindsight. If Andy Ruiz would have just honored the contract he signed, right? Because he never earned a title shot. He got a title shot last minute because an opponent got injured. Oh, no, not injured. He got busted for peds, right? He comes in, he pulls off the upset, and then he played hardball, right? And then he didn't want to rematch AJ in the UK, and then they ended up doing it in Saudi, and he got more money because of it, right? Now, we got the rematch anyway, and AJ won the rematch, but what I'm saying is maybe if Andy would have just honored that, the fight would have happened sooner, number one. Maybe he would have been in better shape. Maybe he possibly wins, right? But most importantly, he wouldn't have gotten such an inflated purse to where now he's almost impossible to work with.
Yeah.
Andy's asking for money that there's just nothing there. Like the only way he could have gotten that money is if the Saudis are willing to pay for it, or somebody's willing to lose money doing it. But Andy's over there talking like they're in another world, bro. They're like, well, look, I fought at this level and I got paid this much, so now I got to make more. And that's the way it is. You make more, okay? You make more when you move up. You make more money, and it's like, I get why fighters think that way. I get it, right? But it's like, you need to understand that was an inflated purse. Like you need, like, they don't understand that, bro.
I know.
So the Saudis have come in, like when the zone came in, they fucked up the market. It's very certain that's what Uber did. You know, Uber, like, just how they fucked up the taxis. Yeah. They charged prices that taxis couldn't compete with. The Uber wasn't making any money, but they wanted to put them out of business first, and then they'll increase the prices now, right? So I'm not saying that's what the Saudis are doing. I think they have other ideas, but if you're doing it unintentionally, you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're unintentionally, if that, maybe intentional, I don't know, but given the benefit of the doubt, they're unintentionally fucking up the market. I think they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what we're saying is the positives are short term and the negatives could be long term negatives that lead to further foundational issues, right?
Hopefully
So
not. Man.
we're like, none of us are gonna say BVOL don't take your money. We're all happy like everybody else. Good, get your payday, get your payday. It's the same thing we said with Tiafimo with Triller. It's like, that looks bad, but get your money, Tiafimo, get your money. But so that part of it, we say, okay, pros. It's a good card with names, right? But then you look further into it. It's like it's like you say, it if it's affecting everybody else, then that's when it becomes a problem. And that's what this is doing, because it leads to inflated overinflated purses that affect the whole market. It's like if you see the laundromat owner driving a Ferrari, you say, "Oh, good for him, he's got a Ferrari." But how the hell did he get that if that's his own business? He's not just washing clothes at that point, right? So that's good, but the difference here is it's affecting everything. It's affecting the whole market, so it's going to lead to more stagnation. It's going to lead to more of the haves and have-nots, right? You're going to need a UFC fight pass to try to come along and try to take advantage of a vacuum in the market in which you have like Pro Box type cards, right? You're going to need a lot of those players come into play and take advantage of that market and give boxing fans that type of market, because when a Saudi market comes around, we lose that market because you're paying these fighters so much, and then everybody's going to want that. Shakur is probably looking at this and saying, I want to go fight in Saudi. And then guess what happens? He's going to have to wait till November, December to do it. And then suddenly you have a guy who's out of the market for 13 months, like a Bivol. How long? 14, 15 months, like a Deontay Wilder. You have these guys out the market just waiting for that
None of those mentioning
bag to fall in their lap.
Yeah, none of them mentioning PBC. How they were the first to fuck up the market. Bro, I cannot say this enough. How consistent we've been since the Rope a Dope radio days about this. Okay. Do you remember we would always talk about the cool million? Like, oh, Andre Berto's getting a cool million to fight like there's nobody. Like
Freddie Hernandez,
you know what I mean?
1.1. 1.1 for Freddie Hernandez. And that's actually my first video here on YouTube, by the way, is Andre Berto getting 1.1 to fight Freddie Hernandez.
Yeah, like, okay, and people would always say, well, what do you care? I'm pro fighter. I want a fighter, man. Okay, but he's fighting in front of 12 people. Like, where's the money coming from? Like, you know what I mean? And then what's the effect? How is it pro fighter? You got to think deeper. You got to, you know. And I'm a firm believer the older people get, the more fiscally conservative they become because they start to understand economics. Okay, so all you got to look at is look at the budget. If you're paying people inflated purses and there's a certain budget, right? The ratings aren't there. The ratings were lower than ever. The ratings kept dropping, but the purses are going up, and you're paying guys to fight in fights nobody asked for, and it wasn't even the Freddie Hernandez fight. There was some other fights where I was like, "Why is Berto fighting that dude?" The guy he beat for the title, I don't even remember his name. I remember how he looked. He had like that, like Elvis haircut or whatever, right? But like, I just like, what are we doing here? We're just throwing away the fucking budget money. So what happens? Well, the big wigs at HBO say, well, there's a yearly meeting or quarterly meeting about budgets. Okay. And guess what? They started cutting the budget. So they start cutting the budget. That's the fighters' money. So less fighters are getting less money now, right? Because you're doing this practice. To eventually, the budget was like lower than 30 million at HBO. It was embarrassing, bro.
Yeah.
And then even then, like HBO was like, well, that's too expensive to keep. Like, you know what I mean? And they got rid of it. So the same thing with Showtime. They kept cutting it over the years. So that is the issue with it, right? So I could go all the way back to then. However, Did it become a bigger issue with PBC? Yes, because he got investor money, okay, Al Heyman, and he flushed it all away, bro. He flushed it all away. But you know what he did? It's clever what he did, but it's like not good for the sport. He got almost like how much was it? I forget that figure, but it must have been either $500 million or more than that. Like it, it was
900 million, I believe, 950.
almost $1 billion, right? He looked at that and said, "Oh, I'm going to get my clients a lot of that moolah. We're going to get that money. I'm going to put them in there with B-sides that I don't have to pay that much. You know, I'm advising them to fight no-hopers and mismatches, right? And or even then, or they're going to fight each other, okay? And then we're going to make a lot of money here. And guess what? He gets 10% of that. Of every single fighter that fights, he gets 10% of it as an advisor, right? So think about all that money he pocketed, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He did that with other people's money. He did that with other people's money, okay? And it got to the point where we're getting all the fights that were good, we're getting them on pay-per-view. Some of them weren't even good, and we got them on pay-per-view. Like Barrios versus Thurman, like that made no sense. And a lot of them were on pay-per-view because there was no money in the budget for it, so they had to put it on pay-per-view. And we got the same thing with Showtime. The good fights were on pay-per-view. Although Showtime had a good year, I will give them that. But I think it was a makeup year. I think they were trying to make up for the other years where they were doing crappy because they were giving a lot of their better fights to Fox. When Fox dumped them, all of a sudden they wanted to be good to Showtime. Okay, so a lot of this is a lot of cause and effect over the years. All right. So yes, PBC played a role, but so did the Zone. When the Zone started, Calix, like why do you got to pay Garcia and Vargas the money they paid them? Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Like that ruined Mikey Garcia's career. He got paid that money. Like, well, okay, I don't got to fight no more. Peace. Guy looks like Andy Ruiz now. Like he's big. Like he gave up. He's like, I'm done. And then they gave him another payday to fight. He looked uninspired against Martin. He didn't care. He just got the paycheck and took off. Like that's what they did. That's what they caused. Yeah. Inflated purses don't help fighters. It may help that one fighter, but overall, if you look at, just think about it. Like you got to look at the money coming in, the money coming out, right? You got to look at that. If the network is spending an excess amount of money, right, and they don't have anything to show for it, no profits to show for it, well, they're going to start making cuts. In some cases, they don't even exist at some point. It is what it is.
Yeah, been a great show. We sandwiched a lot into it, a lot of great boxing talk, and just my final thoughts real quick. I'm very intrigued by both fights tomorrow night. Not so much the Shakur De Los Santos result, because I think we're locked in on that result. Possibly is it a stoppage or a decision? I think that's the question there, right? But how does he look? Will he go for entertainment value? Will he start sitting on his punches or continue to sit on his punches a lot? That's what I'm intrigued by. And I'm also intrigued at what wins out early against Navarrete versus Conceicao. Will it be Conceicao's negative energy or negative type of fighting, like you pointed out? And will Navarrete early on in the fight be able to combat that and force Conceicao into his type of fight? Yep. So that could end up being a dangerous fight, but ultimately I think Shakur by stoppage is a good play, because I think anytime you have a Shakur result in the plus territory, I think you got to jump on that. So that's what I'm doing there. And Navarrete versus Conceicao could get sketchy, but I think Navarrete wins that fight. And any final thoughts for you?
Yeah, make sure you guys, it's not on Saturday or nothing. It's on Thursday, so make sure you guys check that out. I think Pacheco's going to fight on Saturday on the Zone, so check that out as well. Should be good. Next week, Nikita Zul will be fighting. I'm still trying to find a way to watch that. Since the card is tomorrow on Thursday, right. Tonight, go to Ringside Reporter for the round table. We'll see you guys there.
The round table. Make sure y'all are checking it out tonight. over on Ringside Reporter because it is a new night this week due to the fight
and next week because
tomorrow.
of Thanksgiving. We're going to do it
That's
on
right.
Wednesday as well next week.
And I will make my triumphant return. You got my word on that my triumphant return to the round table next week on Wednesday with my new youth sports schedule that I've been locked in on. And I will be back for Thursday nights when y'all start.
And the podcast will be back next week as well.
That's it. And Benavidez next week. So we'll have a lot to talk about next week with Benavidez versus Boo Boo. Good. That's a good fight to have on holiday week. So we are out. Peace. God bless.